So we are going to separate our drums, but we're not going to do it by splitting our notes. So this is one of the cool things about using Battery. Contact does it as well, but Expand doesn't. The Battery has multiple outputs. So we're going to keep all of our drums on one track, which in my opinion is really the best way to work because if I want to make any changes, I just need to make it on this one track as opposed to thinking about, oh, my snare drum is this track and my kick drum is that track and my hi-hats, etc. So, what is important is to know how many drums I have playing in total. So I have my kick, my snare, and my hi-hat, and I'm keeping it that simple. There are other drums in the original song if you listen to it, but that's fine. So I'm going to include this track, my drum track, as one of the three drums. And I'm going to make two more instrument tracks, stereo instrument tracks, that are going to become my other drum outputs. Okay, and that's very important to remember. So I'm going to leave this one as my kick. So I'm renaming this as kick. Next, inst 1 is going to become my snare. And next, the last one is going to be my hi-hat. So I'm going to have 3 tracks for drums, but I will only see my MIDI data on one track. So I click on Battery. I know that this is the kick I use, that's the snare, that's the hi-hat. However, if you press play without an 8-measure intro, you can see what drums are being triggered. So you see them light up as they go. Okay, so I'm going to right click or control click. All right, so control and click on this pad, and I'm going to come to output. Now you can see that right now it's coming out of the master output. The master output is outputs 1 and 2, but just to kind of maintain consistency, I'm going to come down to direct out, and I'm going to choose stereo output 1 and 2. For the snare track, I'm going to hit control click, and I'm going to go to direct out and choose the next available, which is stereo output 3 and 4. So now when I click on this, you can't hear it. Then I'm going to come to my hi-hat that I'm using, control, click, output, direct, 5 and 6. So now if I were to press play, I hear my kick drum, but I don't hear anything else. I don't hear my snare or my hi-hat. Let's go set that up so that we can hear them. So one thing that's very important is you have to see the I/O column for this to work. So if for some reason you do not see the I/O column, come over to this white triangle and customize your edit window view so you can see the I/O. Now, I'm going to try and explain something in the instrument column, but it maybe skip it. So now what's important is I need to take the output of Battery and connect it to the input of the track that I want to hear this drum on. So when I come over to the snare drum and I say no, and I click on no input, and then I come down to plugin, I can see Battery, but I have 2 batteries, so don't get confused. You should only have one. Battery kick, because that's the name of the track that this particular battery is inserted on. So I'm going to go plugin, Battery kick 3/4 for my snare drum. So now this track becomes the output, and I can hear and see the VU meter for my snare. Now no input, plug-in, kick, 5/6 for my hi-hat. Now already, if I look at my, actually it doesn't change because I had not adjusted the volume for my overall drums anyways. But now I have 3 tracks all at 0, all in the center. I like to pan my hi-hats a little to the left, maybe 35% or so. They're loud in my opinion. Now, they're loud in the balance. They're overly loud to begin in the master fader. So I'm not mixing, I'm just kind of walking through. Now that I have individual volumes, individual tracks or outputs, I can manage their volumes. I can pan them as I want individually. Now, I'm not going to pan my kick or my snare. I always say kick and snare remain in the middle. I do like to pan my hi-hat a little off to the left, drummer's perspective. Some people do it to the right. That is not, there's no hard rules on that. Okay, and that is separating your drums in battery, or I should say separating the outputs in battery.